It was mid-December, and the Uche's family home in Lagos was alive with excitement. For Mr. Uche, a thriving businessman, this was the most cherished time of the year. Christmas was around the corner, and like every year, he had made grand plans to travel with his wife Amaka and their 2 children to their village. It was a beloved family tradition, one that brought joy not only to Mr. Uche's family, but also to his aging mother, Mama Uche, who eagerly awaited their arrival every Christmas. The children were happy, talking non-stop about the gift they would take to their grandparents and the adventure they had in the village. Amaka, though happy, had a growing sense of unease this year. She couldn't explain why, but something felt off about the journey. One late evening, as Mr. Uche was finishing up at work, his personal assistant, Anita, entered his office hesitantly. She had been pondering all day whether to share her dream with him. "Sir," she began, wringing her hands nervously, "I know this might sound strange, but I had a dream about your trip to the village. It wasn't good at all." Mr. Uche looked up from his paperwork. His brow furrowed. "A dream?" he repeated, his tone laced with irritation. "Yes, sir," Anita said, her voice trembling. "In the dream, something terrible happened on the road. I don't know the details, but I felt it strongly. Please, sir, I beg you, pray seriously before embarking on this journey. Or better yet, delay it altogether." For a moment, Mr. Uche stared at her. Then he burst into laughter. "Anita, do you realize how ridiculous you sound? You're beginning to remind me of Joseph the Dreamer. Keep your negative thoughts to yourself." "Sir, I mean no disrespect," Anita pleaded, her voice breaking. "I just felt I needed to warn you." "Warn me?" he snapped. "Listen, I have been traveling to the village for years. The roads are perfectly fine, unlike the death traps in your village. I am sure the dream was just from eating too much. Now, if you're done with your stories, I'd like to finish my work." Anita left the office, her heart heavy. She couldn't shake the feeling that something dreadful was about to happen. Later that night, she made the decision to call Mrs. Uche. Amaka was busy packing the children's clothes when her phone rang. Seeing Anita's name on the screen, she smiled. "Hello, Anita. How are you?" "I'm fine, ma," Anita replied, her voice low. "But I needed to tell you something important." Amaka sat down the clothes she was folding and sat on the edge of the bed. "Go ahead, my dear. Is everything okay?" "I had a terrible dream about your journey to the village," Anita said, her voice quivering. "Please, ma, pray fervently before you leave. I begged Mr. Uche to reconsider traveling, but he dismissed me." Amaka's smile faded. "Anita, thank you for telling me this. To be honest, I've been feeling uneasy about the trip myself. But you know my husband, he's determined to go. Nothing I say will change his mind." "Please, ma, don't take this lightly," Anita insisted. "I won't," Amaka assured her. "Thank you for caring enough to warn us." After ending the call, Amaka approached her husband. "Darling," she began cautiously, "Anita called me. She had a dream about our trip, and she's worried something bad might happen. Maybe we should delay the journey." Mr. Uche sighed and rolled his eyes. Not you too. How many times must I say it? Nothing will happen. Do you think I would risk our lives if I wasn't sure the road was safe? Trust me, everything will be fine. Amaka knew there was no convincing him. She decided to take matters into her own hands. In the days leading up to the trip, Amaka went on a 3-day fast, pouring her heart out to God. She also involved her children in daily prayers. Though the children didn't fully understand the urgency, Mr. Uche meanwhile continued to mock her efforts. You prayer warriors, you pray all you can. He teased. I'm making sure the car is in a perfect condition. That's what matters. I've called the mechanic to do a full checkup. I think that's the real preparation, not all these prayers up and down. Despite his dismissive attitude, Amaka continued to pray. On the morning of the journey, she asked for one final family prayer before they set out. Darling, let's commit the trip to God, she said. You go ahead, Mr. Uche replied, already heading outside. I need to warm up the car and arrange the luggage. Reluctantly, Amaka led the children in prayer. Then they all piled into the car and began their journey. Back in the village, Mama Uche was overjoyed. She spent the morning tidying her home and preparing food for her son's arrival. Her best friend, Mama Chinyere, came over to chat. My son is on his way, Mama Uche beamed. He will be here in a few hours. That's wonderful, Mama Chinyere said with a strained smile. But inside, jealousy festered. She couldn't stand how blessed Mama Uche seemed. Her own children were failures, wandering aimlessly around the village. Why did Uche always bring so much joy to his mother? After leaving Mama Uche's house, Mama Chinyere decided she couldn't let her friend have another perfect Christmas. She went to visit her uncle, a feared spiritualist. They must not reach here safely, she said. Do whatever it takes. The spiritualist chanted incantations and peered into his mirror, where he saw the Uche's family driving happily along the road. But with a malevolent smile, he struck the mirror, sending a wave of dark energy towards them. The Uche's family was about halfway to the village when it happened. The children were laughing in the back seat, and Amaka was humming a Christmas carol. Suddenly, Mr. Uche felt the steering wheel jack in his hands. What's going on? He muttered, struggling to control the car. What's wrong? Amaka asked, her voice filled with alarm. The brakes, he shouted. They are not working. The car swerved wildly, veering off the road. Mr. Uche tried desperately to regain control, but it was no use. The vehicle hurtled towards a large tree and slammed into it with a thunderous crash. The news of the accident spread quickly to the village. Mama Chinyere rushed to Mama Uche's house, pretending to be devastated. I'm so sorry, she wailed, hugging her friend. But inside she was gleeful. Her plan had worked. When Mr. Uche regained consciousness, he was in a hospital bed. His legs felt strangely numb. His wife sat beside him, her face pale and tear-streaked. The children sat quietly in a corner, their eyes wide with fear. Darling, he croaked, what happened? You lost control of the car, Amaka said, her voice trembling. Thank God the children and I are unharmed. But, she hesitated, tears streaming down her face. The doctor says you've lost both your legs. You will need a wheelchair to move around. Mr. Uche stared at her, disbelief watching over him. My legs? He whispered, his voice breaking. Tears spilled down his cheeks as the reality sank in. 2 days later, Anita visited the hospital. Seeing Mr. Uche in a wheelchair, she broke down in tears. Sir, I'm so sorry this happened. It's not your fault, Mr. Uche said, his voice heavy with regret. I should have listened to you. Anita hesitated and said, there is something I need to tell you. In my dream, I saw a woman in the village visiting a spiritualist. She was the one behind the accident. Amaka gasped. Do you know who it was? No, Anita admitted, but I know someone cursed your journey. Mr. Uche reflected on everything that had happened. The accident had cost him his legs, but it had also taught him an invaluable lesson. From now on, I will never take anything for granted. I will commit every decision to God in prayer. His wife nodded, relieved to see this change in him. The journey to the village might have ended in tragedy, but it had also taught Mr. Uche a valuable lesson he would never forget. His family supported him through this recovery, and though life was never the same, they emerged stronger and closer than ever. OT lovers, thank you for watching till the end. I hope you enjoyed the story. Kindly like, share the video, drop a comment, and click the subscribe button if you haven't. I wish you all a Merry Christmas and a prosperous New Year ahead. Thank you.